Hi, I'm Jeffrey, and this is Smash Trail. Today we'll be talking about the Cold War and the Vietnam War. Just prior to the Cold War was World War II, where America and Soviet Russia were allies. They were only allies at the time because they had the same enemy, which was Germany and the Axis Union, and their primary goal was to take them down. In fact, America and the USSR did not even enjoy each other's presence and displayed their hatred towards each other during the end of World War II. Fun fact, America hated Soviet Russia so much that an American general named Patton wanted to team up with what was left of Germany and attack Soviet Russia in the year of 1945. From this point on, the Cold War started along with other causes. The main causes of the Cold War include fear of communist attack, President Truman's dislike of Joseph Stalin, the USSR's leader, Soviet Russia's fear of America's atomic bomb, Soviet Russia's dislike of capitalism, Soviet Russia's actions in the Soviet zone of Germany, America's refusal to share nuclear secrets, Soviet Russia's expansion west into Eastern Europe, plus broken election promises, Soviet Russia's fear of American attack, Soviet Russia's need for a secure western border, and Soviet Russia's aim of spreading world communism. During the Cold War, there was a lot of tension between the Soviet Russia and America throughout this war. The two military powers talked about how they were going to attack the other through nuclear warfare, but no nuclear missiles were fired during this war, hence the name Cold War. If this war went hot, meaning actual fighting took place, this would have caused the biggest war in history and caused many tragedies along with that. The Berlin Wall was a major symbol that represented the Cold War. This wall separated Germany into East and West. Eastern Germany went to the Soviet Union while Western Germany went to the United States, Great Britain, and France. This wall trapped people on the wrong side. Many people died trying to cross to the other side. People suffered of starvation due to this wall. Basically, this wall separated Germany into the communist side and the capitalist side, and caused misfortune to Germany. Towards the end of the Cold War, the Berlin Wall was to be taken down. German people happily celebrated, and Germany was unified once again. Now to the Cuban Missile Crisis. After some of the later years of the Cold War, the leaders of America and Vienna argued about how the other leader was weak and could not lead for anything. After other events, such as the rumor that America would come and attempt to overthrow a Cuban leader named Fidel Castro, the leader of Soviet Russia, which was Khrushchev, offered Cuba aid and secretly set up missile bases in Cuba, where the missiles were aimed at Florida, which led to the Cuban Missile Crisis. This event led to a buildup of possible nuclear war. After Soviet Russia agreed to remove the missiles from Cuba, the world was relieved. Now let's talk about the Vietnam War. The war between Northern Vietnamese nationalist forces attempting to unite Vietnam under communism. The United States lost support for the war because it was viewed as a war there was no way to win. This war is what you basically shouldn't do in all future US conflicts. Even before the Vietnam War started, there was fighting throughout all of Vietnam. Vietnam was occupied by France and parts of it was occupied by Japan. When the communist leader Ho Chi Minh returned to Vietnam after a 30-year trip all around the world, he wanted to rid Vietnam of French and Japanese rule. So he rebelled against the French and Japanese. Ho Chi Minh tried to reach out to the US for help and support against the French. But due to the domino theory, the United States decided to help France instead and send aid to their military. In 1954, the French left Vietnam peacefully by the means of the Geneva Conference, which also split Vietnam into Communist North and Capitalist South. The leader of the South, Ngo Dien Diem, was a horrible leader and was assassinated in 1963 due to his terrible leadership. Some southern Vietnamese people started to gravitate more towards communism than capitalism. Some of these people founded and established the National Liberation Front, or the Viet Cong. The Viet Cong attacked the South Vietnamese using guerrilla warfare tactics. The U.S. tried to intervene with advisors, but when 2 U.S. ships were fired upon in the Gulf of Tonkin, the United States reacted by sending in ground troops to Vietnam. The President of the United States at the time, Lyndon B. Johnson, had a goal for success in Vietnam that did not turn out as planned. He wanted to bolster the Southern Vietnamese force rather than just win the war with a serious ground attack or attacking the North directly in any way. This plan made the future support of public impossible and had nobody wanting to continue this war with the Viet Cong. U.S. forces dropped napalm bombs, or Agent Orange, to clear an area by burning down the jungle. The Viet Cong ambushed U.S. troops and set booby traps all around the jungle. They would move around quickly and stealthily using a complex network of rat tunnels, or Cu Chi tunnels. The U.S. soldier couldn't identify the Viet Cong in the villages they passed through because women and children could still help with the Viet Cong. U.S. soldiers' morale were low due to the little preparation against the very well-prepared Viet Cong. On January 30th, the Viet Cong attacked over 100 South Vietnamese cities, surprising the U.S. forces stationed in southern Vietnam. The U.S. and southern Vietnam were able to thwart the attackers in what was known as the Tet Offensive. This surprise attack demonstrated how organized and strong the Viet Cong were compared to what the United States originally thought. After Richard Nixon was elected as the United States President in 1969, he concocted a plan to end involvement in Vietnam conflicts for the U.S. His plan was to gradually withdraw troops from southern Vietnam. This evacuation of troops started in 1969 and ended on March 29, 1973. When the United States had withdrawn most of their troops, the Viet Cong invaded southern Vietnam in what was known as the Spring Offensive. On January 27th, the Paris Peace Accords seceded and the last remaining U.S. soldiers were evacuated, leaving the weak southern Vietnam side vulnerable to attack. Sure enough, in 1975, northern Vietnam toppled the South Vietnamese government and the South surrendered. In 1976, Vietnam became reunited under communist rule. I'm Jeffrey Wizard, and this has been Smash Trail.